Eden.
Thank you very much, Simon. That was more than an inclusive introduction of what I do. First of all, I just want to welcome everyone tonight again, and I want to take this opportunity to really, from the bottom of my heart, thank Vedran Drakulic and the Gandel Foundation, because a couple of years ago, we put a lot of effort into organising this event. I mean, a lot of effort, right? And Vedran really went out of his way to help us put this together. In fact, I'm going to be very honest and transparent. The Gandel Foundation is basically covering the entire cost of the event. The food, the catering, the wine, the drinking, the chairs that have been brought in, and everything else they've covered. So I want everyone to join me in a big round of applause to thank Vedran Drakulic and the Gandel Foundation. I want to take this opportunity to thank every single one of you for coming out here tonight, especially those of you that got stuck in traffic and were determined, including the people that are arriving just now, determined to be here tonight because it is a very special night for us. It's been a few years in the making. It just happens to be that it coincides with Bosnian Statehood Day, which makes it double the happiness, double the excitement for everyone here. We have some faces at this event here that have probably very rarely been seen in the past in the Bosnian community. And I always like to say, with no disrespect to anyone in any community, that we try to attract those individuals that tend to generally stay away from most of the Bosnian events by gathering people who have other topics to discuss. And I think tonight, what we're going to discuss and talk about, and really, hopefully between you, will be the love for Bosnia Herzegovina. And that's exactly what drove my brother and I, at the age of 30, to think about setting up a philanthropic fund to do some great things. And I want everyone to think about how they can make a contribution to the country back home, not only through the help that you've also been giving by providing financial incentives to your family members, but to start thinking about systematically changing the country. It's about coming together, it's about the community. We cannot do things on our own, despite some of you being relatively wealthy and doing well and sending plenty of finances over to Bosnia. You can see that over the last 30 years, we haven't changed that much, given the fact that billions of dollars have been poured into Bosnia. So my brother and I, we tend to think outside the box. We tend to be a little bit crazy at times and pull together people. We wanted to think about how we can do that systematic change. How can we bring about systematic change? And for us, it was a bottom-up approach rather than the top-down approach. Each one of you have watched politics in Bosnia for the last 30 years with frustration. Some of us got grey hairs as a result of Bosnian politics, but we still haven't given up. Our love for Bosnia is enduring, irrespective of who governs it, how they govern it. However, the only change that we can bring about to that country is by inspiring and driving true leadership from the ground up that will transform the country in the future. And that's what I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we've been up to over the last few years since we've seen you last. So just a quick reminder, what we do. Bosnia Herzegovina Futures Foundation was set up to really transform Bosnia and Herzegovina into a prosperous nation. Whatever that means for you, whatever that means for everyone back home, what it means for me is really that young people can respond to the challenges of the 21st century. So not things that are behind us, but things that are coming. Despite the fact that we've been through a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. In the previous war, in World War II, in World War I, and all of the other immigration that's happened, people leaving Bosnia for all parts of the world. We've been through a lot. The future is in front of us, and it's rapidly arriving at our doorstep. Before you know it, time has flown by, and we need to ask ourselves, what contribution have we made in our lifetime that we can comfortably sail off to the other world, if you believe in that, in comfort, and say that we've made a true contribution to change. And that's what we're trying to do. We're empowering young people by giving them the resources that young people in Australia and other parts of the Western world, as we call it, have. What access do they need? And how do we give them the best fighting chance to transform Bosnia, not from the outside, as many people call diaspora will change the world. Yes, diaspora can make a contribution, but the change needs to come within. We are just a piece of that big puzzle. But the young people who are left behind, who are fighting to earn a living, who are fighting to make change, who are looking for opportunities, need our help. And that help can come in many ways. We do that through our work of the foundation. You may have other ideas about how you do that, but none of that will happen without community transformative change. Individuals cannot change an entire nation. We need to come together. We strive for excellence because we believe that Bosnia cannot win out on numbers. We're not China, we're not India, we're not even one of the biggest European countries. We're a very small country with a small population. We have to focus on excellence, and excellence requires us all to draw upon all of that knowledge that we have gained over the last 30 and maybe 100 years from our diaspora. We know how to build businesses, we know how to build mega businesses. We run academia, right? We have cultural intelligence across the world, and yet we're not tapping into that intelligence as we speak, or we're barely grazing the surface, if you might say. Bosnia Herzegovina Futures Foundation, think of it very simply as a vehicle. Think of it as a vehicle, as a very large vehicle, to say the least. It's not a car, it's not your sedan, it's not even a minibus. Think of it as the largest bus that you've ever seen in your life. There's room for everyone. It doesn't matter where you sit on that bus, whether you're the driver or you're just a passenger in the back. Each one of you have something in common. The love for Bosnia and the energy to do something to transform Bosnia and Herzegovina into a nation that we can all be proud of, and where we won't have to read articles on Clicks or Avars or any other platform that you read articles on and think to yourself, I'm so glad I left that place. Because that's what hurts me the most, and I'm sure it hurts you also. We take all of that knowledge, that capital, the financial capital, the know-how that we've built, the networks that we've built, which we very rarely acknowledge, because each one of you has built an incredible network, some of you greater than others, and those networks can be monetized in the right hands. We don't want to monetize your network, but we want to take advantage of your network to give young people in Bosnia and Herzegovina an upper edge. Because if we don't use that opportunity right now, it will start to fade. We know this from an academic point of view, that diasporas that don't stay engaged, not just with family and visiting them and eating chavapi and watching football games as many of us do, but staying engaged at an intellectual level, making contributions that you care about on a regular basis, those diasporas slowly fade away. And what will remain is that you will know that you were born, or that your grandparents were born in this foreign land, and that is the only thing that's going to be remaining. There's no true connection, no deeper connection, and I'm sorry to say, many of our children and grandchildren are struggling to speak the language. Probably would have answered maybe one of those questions on my quiz, which is one of the reasons why I put it up. So we really need to think about how we re-engage. And we do that by empowering this entire community of young people in Bosnia, giving them all the tools, whether it's financial or the know-how, to get ahead in life. Our stakeholder network since 2016 has grown to over 38 countries around the world. We have Bosnians living in Africa, running companies that are thinking about sustainable forestry. You wouldn't know about that. Why? Because Clicks and Avars and all the other platforms are just too addictive with serving us up all the BS and all the dark news that people want to read because we're addicted to them. So we try to explore the positive stories of Bosnian Herzegovinians living around the world, doing incredible things and pushing them out into the public, annoying people with them. I don't care how many people tell me, oh, you tire me. Every second post on social media is about some Bosnian person doing some great things. I don't care. As long as I reach 2 or 3 people, but it's a community effort. But guess what? These communities have incredible knowledge, and we're starting to tap into them. We're only starting to tap into them. We have people on the west coast of the United States that run some of the largest companies in the world. From legal to finances to engineering to governance, they're doing it. But what are we doing? Well done, good job, and that's it. So we need to start tapping into that. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're tapping into this network. We have over 5,000 active stakeholders in our network that are contributing through numerous ways. Speakers, mentors, donors, educators, entrepreneurs, academics, ambassadors. Government officials often reach out to us and say, can you help us? We're going to London and we need assistance to meet some of these Bosnian people. Why? because the Bosnian government has neglected these people for years. What we've changed is we've changed the narrative, we've changed how we engage with our professionals in other countries, including yourselves, by changing what we do, by changing what we ask for. We don't necessarily just want your money, we want your know-how. That's more important, that's more valuable than anything else. We allow young people to develop themselves in 4 particular elements of our foundation. You can tap into any single one of them, but we focus on technology access, giving young people in Bosnia access to all the technology that young Australians have to, or Americans or Chinese, wherever you like. We teach them to be entrepreneurial, and entrepreneurial does not mean that you have to start a business. It means that you know how to recognize opportunities, and you know how to seize those opportunities. It's about the entrepreneurial mindset, to hustle, to fight every day like it's the last day on this planet. Because that's the only way that we can swim out of all the sludge that's been built around us for all those years in Bosnia. And we give them that knowledge by empowering them through the networks that we've built and the incredible entrepreneurs that live in every country. And some of them are in this room this evening. Leadership is core to our survival, ethical leadership, whatever that means for people in Bosnia. I know what it means to me. It means to uphold all of those things that you've been taught in your household, that every single one of the families in Australia here, all of you in this room, teach your children, or that you've been taught by your parents. And somehow that's distorted with time, because we allow the negative forces around us to influence how we think, how we behave, how we treat others, what it means to be a human being who respects others regardless of their ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or whatever else they may have hidden in their closets. We give them that opportunity to learn about true leadership by connecting them with true leaders in the Bosnia Herzegovina community and abroad. And lastly, there is no economic development without intellectual property. We are not a workhorse. We are not a factory that has exhaustive resources that will build economy from scratch. We need to build intellectual property. And intellectual property comes from deep research by giving young people the opportunity to be at the cutting edge of science, engineering, mathematics, the humanities, and everything else that comes with that. And that's exactly what we do. Our network is enormous. I've mentioned, you can see some photos of people's names. There's over 500 mentors in our network. They take students one-on-one, they work with them throughout the entire year. Most importantly, you may think it's a one-way discussion or one-way contribution, but the student learns from you, but believe me, you'll probably learn even more from the student or the young person. You will build a friendship for a lifetime, you will follow their success, and you will applaud every single success that you see, whether it's on social media or through a conversation. That's been the greatest asset of our network. We allow these young people now to take charge. In fact, our board of directors has, out of 7 members, 4 members that were formerly our scholars under the age of 30. And many people told me, you're crazy, how can you let young people run an organization that has significant budget now? If we don't give young people a chance, we're sending them the wrong message that this place is not for you and you need to go elsewhere where others will appreciate you. But we know exactly who appreciates young people. All of those countries west of Bosnia and many countries east of Bosnia. So we're trying to set the example by giving young people the chance that they deserve, regardless of the fact they will fail. They'll get things wrong. But there is no better learning than when you fail and you reflect back on that. And that's a philosophy that many of us here have learned in Australia rather than Bosnia, because we have a completely different educational system back there. We run webinars. We bring in people from all parts of the world, experts in their domains. Most of these people have never ever been heard of in the Bosnian community. Again, I won't say why, but I'm pretty sure you know the Clixers and the Avazes and all the other social media channels don't talk about these people. They've taught us that we are addicted to seeing the faces of Dodik and Bukic and Custovic and all of these politicians that consume the media, and these people don't have space. So many of you in this room are these people. You need to be more active and you need to put your knowledge out there to drown out the negativity that's surrounding Bosnia all the time. We run a podcast like many organizations do, but the purpose of our podcast isn't to talk about how great these people are. And it's in English. Why? We want to influence how others perceive Bosnians and Herzegovinians. We want to change what it means to be Bosnian and Herzegovinian in the global landscape. Because too many times, and I'm sure many of you have had this experience, when you interact with people and you ask them about Bosnia, oh, it's that place where that massive war happened, where all those people died. It's 30 years on, that war happened. Many wars happened before that. It's now time to talk about these people, talk about the success that we're creating, and that's what we want to do. During the pandemic, while many teachers in Bosnia were struggling, never used digital tools, 95% of them, we immediately reacted and we put all of our resources together with all the amazing academics that we have around the world, and we put together a tutoring program for all the high school children in Bosnia to be able to provide them the knowledge while their teachers were trying to figure out, how do I run this Zoom application? How do I run Google Meet? How do I grade people in the digital world, right? It seemed funny at the time, but it's not funny when children are completely disconnected from knowledge for a period of months at end because the teachers were not aware of these digital tools. And yet, it's something that we daily use here and have now come accustomed to. It wasn't so. We ran the biggest tutoring program and we continue to run the biggest tutoring program, and most importantly, no one pays a single buck to receive this tutoring. It's free of charge and it's done by our scholarship recipients. They're giving back to the community. They're learning about what it means to sacrifice your time for the better of your community. We run the biggest research competition in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The numbers in respect to Australia are very, very small, but with respect to giving young people an opportunity to present their research to a global audience. The 3-minute thesis competition, funnily enough, was started in Australia, in Queensland. It's now run in Bosnia. But the difference here is that we don't run it at a university level, we run it across the entire world where any Bosnian student is found conducting any form of research. And we give them a platform to showcase that research in English and the local languages, to showcase to the world the talent that we have, but also to connect each one of you to topics that you may have never interacted with, so you can learn about salamanders that are very, very distinct to certain mountains in Herzegovina, to power energy systems that are being developed in the United States by young Bosnian people, all the way through to financial systems in Saudi Arabia and how Bosnians are tapping into that market. Any topic you can think of, we're doing it. We've run courses for teachers, just like we have for young people. We ran the biggest educational program for high school and primary school teachers in the region, leaders of online education, to teach them about the philosophy of online teaching as a complementary tool, but not as something that you should run from as if it's a nuclear missile. And we've taught them the tools, and I can say proudly that over 10,000 teachers from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia, Macedonia and Slovenia participated in the program. And what I'm most proud of, that it was community driven by people like yourself, and it was from Bosnia to the other countries of the Western Balkans, to showcase that we're not the last on the list in that entire region, that we can lead in certain areas, and we proudly can. I didn't say that people are still using this platform. Here's this gentleman, Miro Pandur, that messaged me about 2 weeks ago and said, "Pozdrav, Edheme, mi ovo još uvijek aktualiziramo." So the longevity is there, and people are doing incredible things with it. It's incredible. We've run programs to teach young people how to communicate their research. I won't go into the details, but hundreds of students receiving amazing input. But most importantly, I mentioned community. We cannot succeed without partnerships. Partnerships means partnering with people that you may not have complete alignment and agreement with. I certainly don't agree. I discussed with my PhD student Riyad Saric today. We like each other a lot. We work very closely together, but we don't agree on every topic. But despite the fact that we don't agree on every topic, we work closely together, because the thing that brings us together, and I've mentioned it numerous times, is that love for Bosnia. For us, it's the love for research, but so on. So we build partnerships with high schools, universities, companies in Bosnia, companies internationally, and these partnerships result in bigger impacts. So I throw the question to you, can you partner with us to create new opportunities out there? Last night, actually 2 days ago, we ran our first pilot program. So we work with young people, we also work with teachers, because if we can give the teachers the right tools, we can bring change or accelerate change. We're running the first program where we're taking teachers from Bosnia and Herzegovina and sending them on 12-month residencies, fully paid, all expenses paid, salaries, stay, food, etc., etc. There is absolutely no excuse why you should not apply. They're going to the international school in Stuttgart. They're spending 12 months working with some of the best teachers in the world, and they're coming back to Bosnia to then inject that knowledge in the local schools. We're starting with a pilot program of a few teachers, but I'm now starting to influence the cantonal ministries, that if this works, and I know it will, that they contribute to the next iteration of this by sending 5 teachers from every canton in Bosnia and Republika Srpska, by sending those teachers to numerous schools around the world and bringing that knowledge back and giving those teachers an opportunity to inject that transformation at the local level. This is long-term change. This is not going to happen overnight. I'm not a politician to tell you next year Bosnia is going to be the best country in the world like many do and many people believe that. That's, I have to say, bullshit. This is long-term change and everyone has to play a role in it. We launched an award called the Vera Schneider Award. Put your hand up if you've heard of Vera Schneider. Anyone know who Vera Schneider is? Very few of you. Vera Schneider was the first mathematician from Bosnia and Herzegovina. She was the first female dean in the former Yugoslavia. She was one of the first female researchers in entire Eastern Europe to go to Western Europe and publish a research paper, all done in the 1920s. People don't know her, and people don't know her story. Why? Only God knows for that case. But we've revived it. We've revived her story. There are 2 documentaries that you can watch on YouTube, on Al Jazeera and BHTV, which we orchestrated and put together, that explain her life and the influence that she had in educating generations of young thinkers, teachers, and so on, who are now in the dwindling of the end of their career, looking to inspire others. We've launched an award that gives young female scientists and researchers in Bosnia up to $5,000 to go overseas to any conference of their choice, anywhere in the world, to present their work and learn from the best. And we're scaling this up. We're giving tens, if not hundreds of young females an opportunity to go out there and explore what's out there and bring that knowledge back. And we're also reviving the great names of Bosnia and Herzegovina's history that have been forgotten, because we seem to somehow, every time we have a war, that war is the most important war, and therefore all of these people who made intellectual contributions, well, you're not so important anymore. There are war heroes that need to be respected. We need to respect the intellectuals that have built Bosnia and built the generations, including all of us in this room, into who we are today. We run the biggest innovation incubator in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm not sure if many of you have heard of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT. It's the greatest academic technical institution in the world. I will just say this, that MIT is our official partner in the Innovation Nation program in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yet the program is so good that we have kindly donated or provided the content to 14 other countries around the world, all developing nations, from Sri Lanka, countries in Central Africa, countries in Southeast Asia. They are using our curriculum, they are using our know-how. So who said that great programs and great initiatives from Bosnia can't reach the global scene? We're doing that. Many of the startups that are coming out of this program will fail. But what won't fail is the drive of these young people that know, I don't have to wait in line for a job at the big government agencies or the big government-owned institutions. I can create my own job, and I can live in Bosnia, and I can earn better than most of us earn here, and I can live the dream back in my own country. Very soon in Sarajevo, we're launching the Futures Leaders Summit, which is the biggest STEM conference, I won't say in Bosnia, in the whole of the Western Balkans. And we have speakers from the whole Western Balkans and the former Yugoslavia, including my dear friend, the mayor of Split, the award-winning physicist who was part of the team that discovered the Higgs boson, what they call the God particle. the mayor of Split, who's a very forward-thinking individual, who we've brought in to talk about what it means to be ethical as a politician, the students that are studying STEM. And so you might ask yourself, why is that important? Well, people who have STEM backgrounds will do incredible things. If they don't learn about leadership and ethical leadership from individuals that are scientists first and foremost, and then leaders in the community, who is going to teach them that? We certainly don't have it at the local level. So incredible things are happening. A couple of stats for you guys. We've run 6 international conferences that have brought together hundreds, thousands of people to different parts of Bosnia. It's not all in Sarajevo. We've run them in Tuzla, in Banja Luka, in Mostar, in Zenica, you name the city, we've been there. 95% of them had never had to pay a single dollar for travel, accommodation, food, and registration to any of our conferences, because we want to make that accessible to people. It cannot be a privilege for those that are rich and famous and have parents that have money. It has to be accessible to people who live in the tiniest of villages that barely have a laptop. They need to get access to that, and that's what we're fighting for on a daily basis. This year we're investing 40,000 Bosnian marks to make that happen. I'll finish with this slide here. What I want to draw your attention to is this. I know it's very, very small text, but I tried to calculate what we've done over the last 7 or so years. Since 2016, we have contributed, and this is a very conservative estimate, over 120,000 hours of volunteering. That's a very big number of hours, so you probably don't understand what that means. But let me tell you this. It equates to 17,142 working days. It equates to 66 years of full-time work. It's a lifetime's work contributed in a matter of years thanks to people like you. Those small little contributions from every single one of you accumulate and create real impact. And we've only accessed 0.01% of the Bosnia Herzegovina community. Imagine what we can do if we access 1% or 10%. I won't even go beyond that because the numbers are absolutely incredible, too hard to process for all of us. The future is this. We are on the path to creating the largest endowment fund. You don't know what an endowment fund is. It's what the Americans do really, really well. For example, I'll give you the extreme case of Harvard University that has over $43 billion sitting in assets, bank accounts, that's growing by the day, because people contribute, that's governed by people who are very ethical and transparent, and they use the generation of income from that, the interests, to power all of the activities that they do. And yet we, as a diaspora of 1.5 million across the world, our wealth is estimated in the tens of billions, believe it or not. We haven't been able to build a fund that's going to solve Bosnia's educational issues, regardless of which puppet or muppet is running the country. I don't want to depend on the politicians to determine whether some young person's going to have a future or not. I want to do that independent of them. And if they can contribute, well, thank you. But if they can't contribute, we will continue to develop young people around the world. We're on our path to creating the biggest endowment fund for education in Bosnia. For those of you that are older in generation, you might remember the word vakuf. And many vakufs in Bosnia, some fell, some are still around. Those vakufs endure. And we want to create the biggest educational vakuf so that no kid in Bosnia who has a super talent will ever be told, no, you can't do this because we can't afford it. We can afford it and we will afford it.
How good was that video?